Valorant Patch 9.08 just got released on all regions with some pretty interesting changes. This is the first episode of ELO cheat codes where I give easy tips and tricks that the everyday player can use to help increase their rank. I'm Zapper, your favorite Immortal 3 yapper, and to start things off we have Gecko. Gecko had some pretty major nerfs this act, and unless you are a Gecko main, I would probably try to stay away from him until the new patch settles down a bit more. His flash, ult, and orb pickup all got nerfed, with the only buff being to his wingman, with a wider stun hitbox. His flash will be in the air for less time, orbs will be about 5 seconds less that you have to pick them up. His ult will cost an extra ult orb, and yeah, that's about it other than a couple bug fixes. For those of you, on the other hand, who have been thinking about picking up Yoru, now would be the time to do so. Although indirect, he was given another buff in this patch to make his clone more realistic. He was already one of the best agents in the game before this patch, and putting some time into learning how to play him well is definitely worth it. There's a new map for Team Deathmatch called Glitch. I've only played it like once, but it was pretty fun. There's a lot more elevation to play with than your typical Team Deathmatch map. I'm kind of mad because I love Icebox, but I'm sure many of you will be ecstatic to hear that Icebox and Lotus are moving out of the competitive map pool rotation. Instead, we will be getting Pearl and Split back in the rotation. To help you get ahead of the curve, here's two of my favorite strats for each of them. Keep in mind, I typically play Duelist, but on Split, I like to hold main from heaven like this. It's a strong angle to take fights from if they do peek you, gives you good control of A main space, and it's easy to fall back from if you get overwhelmed with utility or numbers. A cheeky little play you can do from vents is to sit here behind the smoke and then wait for the enemies to start running into heaven. Once you hear the last of them reach the stairs, you can peek out of the smoke and hopefully catch them all with their backs turned. Don't overuse this play though, because if someone's walking up baiting their team, they can easily pick you off. On Pearl, I like to push up into A main and hold this off angle right here. It's super hard to clear for the attackers without utility, and if you're playing Yoru, Jet, Reyna, or Chamber, you can easily hold for a free kill before escaping safely. Doing this allows you to secure all of A main space super early, which will help you and your team predict the enemy's next move much quicker. If you hear a lot of steps and think they might throw some utility at you, I would stay away from this strategy. Another amazing spot to play on A site is on top of this box. As long as you have control of mid and aren't worried about flank, this spot allows you to see straight over the enemy's smoke, allowing you to catch the enemies off guard and instantly stop their push. The biggest change this patch was to sunset though. B site was changed heavily, and even mid on the B side got a few changes as well. Here's a few tips that you can use to take advantage of these changes. Fighting B main is going to be much harder for the defenders now, but this also means that it will be much harder to play post plant from main as well. You can now set up a crossfire on the site runout. I'd compare this to Ascent A main runout. Because the angles are deeper, it's much easier for you to play in the cubbies, and the enemies have to pick a side to look when they're coming out, which makes it much more favorable for the defenders. Defenders were given an insanely strong angle as well. 4 different elevations all line up at the same spot, and if you set up an op on this box right here, you can definitely cause some serious trouble. Holding the market flood also became much easier for the defenders because there's now a ton of different off angles at your disposal. Overall, B site just became much easier for the defenders to hold. Attackers were given some leeway to isolate angles and make plays with utility, but if we're talking dry fights, no utility, the defenders will definitely win out. On the contrary, the attackers now gain much more value for successfully taking site, as opposed to just playing post plant from B main.